Disclaimer here right now. There are some people that learn the tricks that people apply and they will use it to take advantage of your styles. When you are practicing anything, just be mindful there are people out there that are into manipulating. For example, that book, Women Are From Venus and Men Are From Mars, has been around for so long. And just like The Secret on Netflix, people have watched it. People have learned it. And so now people regurgitate it, but they don't necessarily know it. Or people have learned the tricks of how women behave and how men behave, and they've used it to their advantage. A man wants a woman, and so he'll use the tricks to get her. And in the same way, women will use the tricks to get a man. That's why there's a lot of people in the world that don't trust. When I'm sharing information with you, just be mindful that there are people that have access to the same information and they might use it for the wrong reasons. Hi, this is Harjeet, and welcome to Heartbeat with Harjeet. Today, I want to talk to you about the art of communicating effectively, trying to get to the point of what you want and trying to get across what you need, being concise and clear in your communication at work and at home so that you can get to where you want to be in that conversation. My statement for this, and again, it's another acronym, take time to be abrupt. Let's talk about time, because that is the key point here. Time is so valuable. Your time, my time, it is so valuable because we don't have enough of it. We have 24 hours in a day, and of those 24 hours, we're spending time sleeping, eating, looking after our kids or our pets, talking to people we meet, we're working out, we're cooking, we're cleaning. We don't have enough time to do nothing. And a lot of people, they're actually looking forward to do nothing or planning something to do, but they don't even have enough time to plan what they're going to do with their nothing time. They just need that nothing time to just rest, relax. It's fair when you're working every day, 9 to 5, and some people, they work longer hours than that, and they work consistently harder than some people. It's just a tough world when all we're doing is working. So when it comes to taking time, your time is valuable. You don't have time to watch this video. You don't have time to listen to it, but I hope you do take the time because it's going to help you, especially in the work environment. In general, if you can detach emotions where emotions are hurting and just focus on the time you have, you need to get a point across, you need to receive a specific answer, and you focus on that more than how you're feeling, it's going to help you. And it's hard. It's very hard, and it's worth it. There is nothing to tell you that it's not worth it, because I've been in my headspace, I've been in my heart space, and I just know that sometimes you have got to step out of your heart space, your feeling, and you've got to really engage with a person to get what you need from them. And that's where it comes to the art of communicating, respecting somebody else's time. So it's not just about your time. Your time is important. You don't have enough, but the other person, they don't have enough. And also, different people have different priorities. I made this statement up when I was working, and I had the most amazing boss. Not everybody would agree with me. He didn't wish people good morning, but I had so much respect for him because he would always get to the point. He would tell me what he meant and meant what he said. He would call me into his office and he would tell me to go back there because I didn't have a pen and a paper. He knew that he was going to be speaking a lot. And how am I going to retain that information if I don't have a pen and a paper? Time is so valuable. So when you think about the other person's time, you will be more understanding. When guests come to your house, people don't necessarily say bye and leave because some people have more time than others, right? If you're the guest at somebody else's house, maybe you respect time and you just leave when you say bye. But then there's guests that have so much time that they don't understand the bye because they have so much time. For me, I find that when I recognize that a person has more time than I do, I try and finish the conversation in a way that's polite. I think about it, recognizing it, that time is more valuable to me in this moment and it's not so much more valuable to them. That's how you can help yourself to help in the workplace. Sometimes the time is more valuable for the other person, your boss or someone more senior to you. You have to respect their time. They maybe aren't going to wish you good morning. It's not a personal thing, mostly because their brain is focused on something else. They're prioritizing other things and their time is going somewhere else. Their attention is going somewhere else. When you're taking time, it's important to be aware of your time and the other person's time. And now we're going to move on to the acronym, and we're going to break down every letter like I always do, starting with A, and it's ask. Ask. Don't ever assume. Ask doesn't come alone. It comes with don't ever assume. I find a lot of people are afraid to ask. They're afraid of looking stupid. I guess we've been taught that asking questions is silly, Asking question is not silly. You can ask a question that is deemed as stupid, but it's not actually stupid. A person could be experiencing something for the first time. They could be going skydiving for the first time, for example, and they ask you, how do you put this harness on? Is this how you do it? And somebody who's been skydiving a million times before them could be laughing, saying, oh, no, that's not how you do it. Are you stupid? And that's really offensive because that person is not stupid. They're just new at skydiving. When you ask, if a person makes you feel that you shouldn't have asked, that's when you know you're right for asking, because that person probably doesn't have the answer, but they have been taught that they need to always have an answer because maybe their parents always had an answer, or maybe they just needed to always have an answer for their parents and they could never be wrong. So there's reasons why people will be afraid when you ask them, but you still have to ask questions, because if you don't ask questions, how are you going to advance in life? If somebody asks you to do something, say, for example, something as simple as make a cup of tea. There's a million questions for me when somebody asks me to make tea. I'm not going to say, okay, and go make the tea. Because then as I'm making it, I'm going to say, okay, do you take milk? Do you take sugar? Do you like it warm? Do you like it cold? Do you like it milky? Oh my God, do you take honey? There are so many questions when you just make a cup of tea. But if you understand that you can just ask those questions all at the beginning and then you can make the cup of tea with ease. Some people, they don't like it again because they're so used to people just knowing them. When it comes to a parent-child relationship, parents know their children, mothers know their children so well. They know what their children likes. They know how their children likes it, when the child likes it, and they've also been a part of making sure their child has what they need. When a child has been given so much, when they need it, as an adult, they don't understand how they're not getting it. When a person asks them a question about something that is simple to them, but a little bit more complicated to the asker, you might get a response that you don't necessarily like. Don't let it deter you from asking. When you are asking, just focus on the goal, the information you want from it. Just know there are some people you can ask and there are some people that you can't. Let's move on to B. Be blunt. What do I mean? Have you seen a pencil when it's sharp or when it's blunt? A blunt pencil, how does that fit as being blunt? Because you get to the point is gone because you've gotten to it. You're being blunt. Say, for example, you see someone and you are thinking about what you need from them, but then you're also thinking about what society has projected on you, and you're like, oh, I can't ask them about if they've done that project yet because I didn't ask them how they're doing. So instead, I'm going to go and approach this person and ask them, how are you? And strike up a whole conversation with them just to get to where I want to get. The amount of time that you waste, you might not even get to where you want to get, because then the conversation starts happening. The person thinks you're asking how they are, but you'll never find out about the project. It's very important to be blunt. It's not rude or offensive to be blunt. When you're asking directly for what you want, I used to know a person that I used to just message them after years, not even years, maybe weeks. I just used to message them something that I needed. Could you help me with this? Could you help me with that? Because I knew this person's character. They were all about helping. I found out this person really didn't like it because I never asked how they were. There are some people that do need to be asked how they are, and that's fair. Just ask them how they are and then ask them what you need. In messaging, it's easy to do that. But at the same time, if you're asking how they are just to get to what you need, it's better to just ask what you need and let that person figure out how they want to respond, and then you just handle it. It's just like asking somebody, can I have your driver's license number? How are you is very personal. If a person's had a bad day, they don't always want to share that. If it's health related, that's when people maybe share. But when it's personal, emotional, people don't necessarily want to share their day. I feel the only option I have is to say, yeah, I'm fine, because most people ask it to me in passing. Do they really care how I feel? When a person asks me how I am, are they really going to sit down and listen? When you're asking a person how they are, it can't be a quick stop in an elevator, how are you? There has to be a chance for them to actually respond. Society may project that on us, but then we're also projecting it on people because we have allowed it. So asking how are you is not relevant when you're being blunt. You can ask it if you genuinely care, but just as an opener, it doesn't really count. You could have an opener that says, hey, how was your weekend? That's quicker. It's less conversational than how are you? It's less intrusive because a weekend is more likely to end really quick. Listen and care about the response, and then you just go into what you want to say. Oh, did you finish that project? Did you go to that meeting last week? Because I missed it and I would love to know what happened. I'm talking about in a work environment because I actually made up this statement in a work environment, but you can apply it to your home environment too. If you have a busy spouse or busy kids, or you're busy yourself, it's better to always be blunt. Ask the kids, did you eat already? There's food in the fridge. Just let them know the facts. When you keep it simple, it's really easy. And for me, that's called being blunt. Now, let's move on to R, taking responsibility. In a conversation, in an exchange, you have to take responsibility too, and you have to be mindful of that. There are lots of times where a person can attack your character and you would focus on being attacked, but sometimes you need to take responsibility for what you're hearing, because there is a lot of responsibility that you can take for what you're hearing. You're so focused on blaming that other person in your own head that when they're attacking your character, you will respond to that accordingly, which is most often a reaction. Focus on being responsible in a conversation, taking responsibility for your actions, knowing your intent the whole time. When a person says something to you that can focus on the mistake that you made, take responsibility of it, own it, and just respond to it accordingly. Yes, I made a mistake. Human error, it's inevitable. Respond according to what you are responsible for. Take responsibility for your actions. In conversations and just in life in general, when you take responsibility, it's less likely that a person can attack your character because you've already taken responsibility for your actions. You already know what you did wrong. You've already accounted for it. You've already apologized for it, maybe. So don't let you be the one that's not taking responsibility of your own actions. Don't let you be the one that's under attack from conversational exchange. Let's move on to you, understanding. It's so important that we understand when you take it back to time, you've got to understand a person has different time capacity, different priorities. They're not as available as you are, or vice versa. So you have to understand a person all the time. Understanding them doesn't mean that you understand them to the point that you're so empathetic that you can't handle your own feelings. You have to differentiate understanding from empathy, because you can be empathetic, you can care, but when you understand, it's a lot less emotional attachment. You understand where a person's coming from, understand childhood background. A lot of people have had very tough childhoods. Some people have faced lots of abuse, torture, horrible, horrible things, the loss of a parent, loss of a sibling, so much grief. And then there's other people who have had to go through sexual abuse, neglect, verbal abuse, physical abuse. There is so much trauma, grief that is not being relieved in us adults alone. Then there's children that we're trying to raise to be resilient, to not have to go through that. When we think about the trauma and the grief that we faced, how it's made us, I know it's made me stronger and a better person. Had I not experienced it, I don't know how I would have turned out. I think life would have been better, but I actually am glad with how life is. When you have struggled with trauma, grief, you're going to try and make sure your children don't have it. Sometimes we do project that back onto our children. It comes back to understanding. When you understand that we're all from different backgrounds, we're all raised differently, we'll all respond differently. When we're understanding in a conversation, we respond differently. This person can say, "Hey, you're such an idiot," rather than saying, "Well, I'm not actually an idiot. You're the one who said this. You're the one who did that. I just did that because you." It turns into a whole battle. When a person just says you're an idiot, they're reflecting. You are their mirror. They're looking at you and they are sounding back to you what they've heard. They're telling you you're an idiot when that's what they've heard. They maybe truly believe you're an idiot. They maybe think everybody's an idiot because that's all I've heard. Or maybe they never heard that they were an idiot. They always heard around them that everybody else is an idiot. So it's just something that resonates with them. Don't take it personally. Just understand that a person is coming from a different space than you are. Little things that you should think about. They haven't experienced this much. They've experienced too much. Who knows why a person is behaving the way they are or conversing the way they are. Just understand that not everybody is the same as you. We are all different. When you're expecting the same response from what you give, and I've been guilty of that because I've always treated others as I want to be treated. I've learned that you treat others how they treat you. Treat them as you want to be treated, but when they take advantage of that, you treat them how they treat you. And that's very hard. You are the person that has been raised to treat others how you want to be treated. It's hard to change yourself. Different people require different version of you. Being aware of yourself, understanding someone else, respecting yourself. Once you respect yourself, you put everybody on the same playing field. You are not more superior than that person. That person has just had different experiences to you. You're evolving at a different rate. So it's just about maintaining your balance, that person is just the same space as you. That person could be higher level in a hierarchy at work to you, but they could be less than you in what you perceive as to being smart or kind. When we understand people, it really just helps in the conversing. So U is for understand. Moving on to P, I had made this for the workplace. So originally it was about being proactive, and I'm going to share that. So when you do have time, which is what it's all about, be proactive. Think about all the things that you could do when you don't have any time. You could do so much more to organize your space when you have time, so that when you don't have time, you can be faster at processing things. You could possibly organize your digital files. You could possibly organize your physical files. So that's my being proactive, and I can put that in a nutshell and close the door to that. Now coming back to communicating, P can be pausing or patience, which are 1 and 2 the same. Pausing is better because when you are speaking, you have to pause. And when you're listening, you also have to pause. The art of pausing, very effective, so that you can get your message across more effectively, and so that you are not using your thoughts, or you can use your thoughts to make sure your emotions are detached from what you're saying. As a listener, respect the pauses. When a person can pause when they speak, they are going to say the things that actually matter. We can filter out the stuff that you don't need to hear. My storytelling is way different. I want to tell you about the wind and how it blew and how I saw the butterfly and how I smelt the flowers. It's going to be a whole story, and some people don't have the patience to listen to that. I don't know how I can pause in a conversation with certain people, but if you can pause when you speak and a person can accept those pauses, that's a really good sign, because you can improve your speech at the same time. And as a listener, when it's your time to talk, you're going to need to pause too. With respecting the pauses, it means that if you interrupted somebody, you didn't notice that they were taking a minute to just breathe and they still had more to say, they should speak up. You should speak up if you didn't finish what you're going to say. And at the same time, the person who interrupted should recognize that they interrupted. Hey, I interrupted. You carry on saying what you're saying. I'll chip in what I need to chip in at the right time. When I was younger, I used to have conversations and I would interrupt, and then I would go off on a tangent and I would start talking about the color of the sky, and I would end up talking about the last book I read. Some people have the time to listen. I think a little bit of babble is entertaining, but I think also pausing when you speak, just to get what you need from a conversation. Not every conversation is a conversation that needs to be had. You don't always want to be talking about what you watched, what you read, what clothes you bought. Sometimes you just have something specific to say. You want to share something. You want to get something back, and you just want to get to the point. You need to be blunt. So that comes with pausing. Just think logically about where you want to go with this conversation, and you can do that when you pause. Let's move on to T. T in abrupt is to do it all with tact. So when it comes to take time to be abrupt is a very rude kind of word. If you were going to be abrupt in communicating, it's very rude. It's being non-caring of the other person's feelings. But when you do it all with tact, you're being mindful. You are actually thinking about how to present it. You're being tactful. There are a lot of ways to describe tactful. I don't have the dictionary expression in front of me, but it is about being mindful and being respectful and just acknowledging that other people are different. If you be mindful of what abrupt actually means, from the A to the T, ask, be blunt, take responsibility, understand, pause, do it all with tact. You got to finish with doing it with tact. Everything that you do it with tact. So that's my video on taking time to be abrupt. I hope that you liked it, and I hope that it helps you communicate effectively or understand yourself better and how you have communicated, your communication style, and how you want to be, and just how people are around you. It's all about understanding other people so that we can be the best that we can be in a world where there are so many different people. We're all evolving at different rates. And respecting that, taking time to be abrupt, been something that I'm living by. I try my best to live by. I hope you enjoyed it enough that you subscribe. You maybe like, you maybe comment. Comments are my favorite because I get to know what you actually really think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.